Hi, I'd like to tell you about my favorite diagnosis I ever received. But first, I want to tell you I entered the mental health system because when I quit using drugs and alcohol, I got terribly depressed. I didn't know how to live using or not using. People would say to me, "Aren't you proud you have a year together?" And I would say, "No, I have feelings. I have nightmares. I have memories." All the reasons I drank and drugged over were still there, and I didn't know how to navigate. So I entered the mental health system. I got a diagnosis of major depressive disorder, and then I got borderline personality. I think at one point I had bipolar with psychotic features, and the longer I stayed in the system, the more diagnoses I collected until I reached the jackpot, which was paranoid schizophrenia. Um, and as I stayed in the mental health system, the amount of drugs and the severity of the drugs increased until the point that I was on Thorazine. And I was kind of a walking zombie at that time. And fortunately for me, I finally found a psychiatrist, Robert Emerson Gardner, who was also trained as a neurologist, and he believed in neuroplasticity, and he believed in a lot of possibilities. He also believed in ruling things out. Let's be curious about what's going on. And I worked with him, and slowly, over time, cautiously, I came off of all the psychiatric medication, and he offered me a lot of suggestions like meditation, being a vegan, all different things. And some of which I took him up on, and some I didn't. But he was always interested in the context of my distress, whatever it happened to me. And one day I asked him, "Well, what diagnosis would you give me, Dr. Gardner?" And he said, "Do you feel like you need one?" I said, "No, I'm just curious. What would you say?" And he gave me my favorite diagnosis. He told me I was a human being. And I said, "Well, that's a fatal diagnosis, but I think I can live with that for a while."